Hey there. This is just, I was just going to share a few things that I have found is very helpful for me, even though I know I've done a couple of videos a long time ago, although, time is relative when you think of temporal space. Um, that's a whole nother subject, right? Temporal energy is always in motion unless you want to hit the pause button. You ever see that Twilight Zone episode? It's called phase locking. But I was just going to show a few things here. I finally, this is a particular brand which is called Miracles Botanicals. Aaron, who's really up on this, who lives here in the house, he's a self-identified pharmacist mate, matter plus state. And so he recommended this to me. That's about a lot cheaper than doTERRA and a lot of the other high-end brands. And this is Miracle Botanicals, but this is CO2 frankincense serrata and turmeric and myrrh, pine resin. Oh, I love pine trees. And what's beautiful when you're a polarity integrator and you're one with all creation. And this is one of the reasons why you can imagine why when I was a little boy I ran right into nature to go be with the great living spirit, essence of Mama Nature and her oversoul. To be one with her as a polarity integrator is because as a monopole, you're balanced with the pole, the flag, what is known as the staff of the planet ship itself. So I experience the echo chamber, or if you will, the balance in the water worlds and all the frequencies in the PSI. I mentioned this before, it's like being inside of an air compressor. And there's times in which, depending on where I'm at, it's just like, man, turn this headset off, right? Because what it is that, you're such a hyperdrive, made of chit. So you're monitoring what's really, you're routing traffic. And the traffic changes depending on where you're at, and particularly at night. And it might be different in different places. Who's up above, right? Because I'll tell you something, and I've known this forever. Our energy actually powers their machines, those ships. Okay? Remember I mentioned one time the same energy that flows through me, which is what love is that goes on forever, flows through everything. There isn't any separation from the all creation. That's what it means to be one with one. When you are what love is, you are one. You're at the center point from which it all happens. That's an enormous amount of fire. And here's something that's got a lot of fire. Oregano oil. And then I take a kelp. Love the ocean, right? I remember when, what's his name, Mr. Finnerty said, I'm hanging out with a bunch of dolphin brains. Well, I've shared how that works. You're a receiver and a transmitter, right? Stereo receptant, FM, female and male modulation, modulate, gain of function, loss of function, gain of function, loss of function. So like Fauci, when he talked about gain of function, that's inverted, which means that's the opposite, which means that's meant to drain your energy, break the spirals, proton, electrons, neutrons, right? There goes your power plant. There goes your antenna. Right? So it wants to slow your function down. So they're inverted. That's inverted consciousness. That's why when I look and monitor a lot of different stations, particularly on the larger subscriptions, to see if when we say certain things that are alphanumerical formatting of matter codes between, when you're a polarity integrator, between reverse flow, forward flow, but when you're in perfect balance and you're the one who's a monopole, you're always in a state of peace, because that's called a peace of mind, and that's priceless because it's timeless space. There is no time. There isn't any time. So that's why when I used to call time card programming, what I'm actually measuring is the difference in the torque speed differential between deadlight artificial intelligence, how they're connected to that, because artificial intelligence needs our electrons that we gift, that it runs on. So you realize that they're not aware of that unless we expose it to them, what they're held captive to through a number system, which is a numbers game, which is an AI war game. Black cube. Goo codes. So they're chasing. You see them chase. Any four-way intersection, like a tetrahedron, right? They can't wait. It's like, hey, you got all the time in the world, right? So if you're experiencing being in a perfect state of peace and you're not experiencing time, because what you're experiencing is nirvana. That's a timeless space. That's timeless space. That's a timeless state of spiritual being. You're aware of what you are in energy that feels so good to experience. There isn't any time. Nothing is holding your energy captive, which means your soul and your spirit and the essence of who you are is not held captive by anything. It's as if time doesn't exist. It means the world that all those minds are living in, running their software, chasing electrons, because that's what's happening. They're chasing time because they're not free. Otherwise, they relax. Everything's going to be okay. There's nothing to worry about. Love is here. When you are experiencing what love is, there's nothing to worry about because that's the energy that loves you. Remember the bear cartoon with the teeth? That's what they do. When they're inverted and then they present themselves to us, they're making fun of us because they know that these people are not awake. So they ridicule us is actually really what it is. They mock, which is mimic us, right? And then people believe that, hey, since you look just like me, I am what you are and you are what I am. So they're masqueraders. So when I was a child, they're not real. It's alive. You know what a live wire is? You ever been around a live wire? I've been around a live wire, big live wires, you know, during fires and stuff like that. Whoa, we got a live one. So you know when some of these wires got a lot of voltage, a lot of amps. Whoa, it's like a coil that went ripping around, just like Simon Legree whipped that horse. It's all codes. It's all symbolic codes that's in your mirror, right? So you're translating the codes, which represent the holographic field, the simulator that you're in, all the different layers and structures upon which all these simulations are running, which are being held captive in RAM as a result of all the programming. Remember what Morpheus said in the White Room? Hey, I have a lot of fun with this. I break it all down. Remember the group? Eric Clapton, Ginger Baker, Jack Bruce, White Room. Right. Remember Grace Slick, Jefferson Airplane. One pill makes you larger, one pill makes you smaller. I will say this. There are some times I wish I could go back in time to some of those periods of time that I experienced because I was having an absolute blast running a lawnmower through all this stuff, which is a high-speed vortex, right, with being in Laguna Beach. When was this, 1967? Yes, when they had a place called the Mystic Arts. They burned that down for obvious self-evident reasons. But there was a little place called Taco Bell right across the street, and then a little market that was corner to it, catty corner to it, which I believe was a market basket, if I'm not mistaken. I'll just share this with you, just since it just all of a sudden come to mind. Because this is all CIA Brotherhood stuff, as I've probably mentioned to you before. They had a couple of houses where they were distributing stuff that was coming from Vietnam, Afghanistan, hand pressed, what is known as oil-based hashish, really dark green stuff, really good though, really good stuff. I happen to prefer blonde Lebanese hashish, the stuff that I've had that was known as blonde Lebanese. So when I was a young teenager, I naturally was like, why would I choose to experience this? Well, first of all, you're fearless. You're like Supergirl, Superman. But if it comes from Mother Earth and it's plants, which means it's natural, trinary, alkaloid, chances are, in other words, you don't fear to be in an altered state of consciousness. It just means you're going to experience what the experience is informing you of, what you experience through the other. That's why Terence McKenna was very correct in one of the books that I read through a lot, because I thought if I could have met Terence McKenna, we could have had a ball with this stuff. Cut right to the chase, even though it's not as if I know more than he does. It's the fact that when you want to compress experiences into space, there's only so much space that you can compress that much energy that you're experiencing in your own heart and soul. Okay, by all the experiences that are possible to experience, being on fire with what love is, which means you're pure light. It's just like, my God, there's no way that I can compress that much experiential information or experience codes that are represented by the experiences on the visible light way, in which you can experience them either through your third eye or when you put the mirror that's in front of you. Like when you walk into a forest, you're seeing all the trees and everything that is there. You're processing all that data, all that mathematical data. That's an enormous amount of number crunching, right? So you can imagine what it would be like to be a buzzsaw, going through every possible place there is to experience on land and water. Now imagine being able to do all that all at once, which means you can experience what every cell is experiencing, that is represented by every cell that's alive and living and aware of itself within a planetary consciousness terrain. Right? You have any idea how much energy that is you'd have to compress in order to be able to do that at once? Right? So that's why when I was a child growing up, I thought, I can think of a gazillion different things I'd like to go experience that I haven't experienced before that is brand new, but to be able to do that, there isn't enough time. You could do that in 1,000 lifetimes. So, hey, go into my wardroom. How many avatars you got? Well, how many different ones can I jump into? How about all the new ones? Hey, let's create a new one. Start programming a new one. What do you want to go do in this one? Well, just code it. Let's do something different. Something that's never been done before. Oh, do these eyeballs come with lasers just like Superman? Rules of the road. Or it doesn't fire. So when you are pure fire, which is pure light, and you're the one code, which is the honor code, which is the highest superconductor code, that's the high speed law. That's why I used to get a kick out of, you can only go 45 miles an hour. But then they used to have a law in California that said it's called basic speed, base speed. I get it, okay? So, in other words, if a CHP in California 40 years ago, I say, listen, you got the basic speed law, right? Oh, I'm base. Oh, you're the base. Yeah, that means I'm not going to run into anything with my ship. I think I've learned how to be able to run a gyrodome in my spaceship. Oh, really? You're a spaceship, a starship? Yeah, I know how to run a spaceship. I know how to be at the center of the magneto, right? So this starship is not going to go banging into another starship. We know how to get it through a gate. Oh, really? Yeah. I'm not going to bang into anything going down this road at 100 miles an hour unless they want to bang into me, but it ain't going to be me that does it. They're the one that's out of balance, not me. Wow, you're in balance with all the atoms? Yeah, to make sure we don't go off course. Holy Moses. See ya. Thank you. That's why I used to get a kick out of Broderick Crawford. 5150 to headquarters. What's a 5150? That's called code traffic. Oh, number codes. Yeah, we're now back into number translations. 5150. 5150 to headquarters. Headquarters by, stand by one. Stand by one. Stand by one. He's telling the one to stand by one, but he's not the one, because he's not what love is. So they're inverted. They invert all the numbers. That's why on the football fields, they say that's like a number 7, like John Elway was number 7, Rainbow 7, 7 seals. They're -7. They're not +7, so they're inverted, so they lie about all their numbers. See, that's why with a corporation, when you want to go down and get a driver's license, you're actually asking them permission to travel. Okay. I'm a consciousness transport vehicle. I have a soul, and this is my avatar. And you're trying to tell me that I need to get permission from you to be able to travel so that you can control my space and meter it, and now I got to pay you. And you're using my energy in order to sell it back to me? What the hell is the matter with me? That's all the inverted programming. Cellular memories, generation after generation after generation after generation after generation after generation, which are all the code transfers. These are major crimes against the one, right? Yeah. So that's why the idea that you need a permission slip to do anything through them, which is a parasite, is inverted. Okay, they owe us. That's why the guy upstairs, when he began showing me how he does it, how he runs the numbers, okay, and that's what people end up having to do is now we're back to Robin Hood, you know, Green, remember the Green Robin Hood? Stealing from the rich to get back to the poor. Richard the Lionheart, remember Lionheart, now we're back to the Knights of Malta and all them folks. So what it is you have parasites that steal from us. Now we're stealing back from the parasites. So we do the same thing to them they do to us. So you realize what a zero-sum game is. We don't use our energy in the same way that they do because we're honorable. So the honor code is the highest code, which is what love is. Which means that you know that they're living on borrowed time because it's only a matter of time when the cosmos will adjust itself, which means a cosmic level cycle. Not a galactic level cycle, a cosmic level cycle. When Adam puts the call out and everybody got the message through atoms that we're going to do a cosmic level correction. Okay? That means that these are units of consciousness that represent what atoms are, have chosen not to experience war ever again. Ever again. So when I experienced that being posted on the Portal Blogspot, you realize that there is another unit of consciousness that acknowledges what I've already known since childhood. So I know that that's another engine that's with Adam, which is what I am. So you realize when love is a law, that means that we can put together more units of energy that are on board with the one. See? So when you stand with the highest law, you are standing in the highest honor, regardless of what anybody else says. And that's why when I was a child, I kept my mouth most of the time because I realized I am not going to invalidate who you are, how you experience what you are, no matter whether it's been in a spaceship, a Starfleet, anything that's galactic and universal on any level. There is what you are, there is what I am, and if you are not experiencing what love is, then you're not experiencing what I am, which is what love is. It goes on forever. Then there has to be some explanation why you're not experiencing what I am, which is what the law is, which is what love is. And it either is true or it's not true. I know that it's true because I am what love is, and that's the highest law. Whether you choose out of your own free will to experience what love is, which is what the law is, it goes on forever, to be what I am, which is what I experience, which is what love is, it goes on forever, it's always going to be up to your free will, not my free will. My free will is to be what love is. That's what it means to have free will. But at some point in time, depending on your journey and all the experiences you've ever had since time began, the end of day one, if you will, at some point you will have learned the benefit and the value of becoming what love is. And will have learned how to do that with your magnet and your mirror and your soul and your spirit in which to become what that is. The problem with borrowed time is that the cosmic creation itself sort of has a natural way, much like the way that Harriman describes it, where the sum of its parts that are always changing and experiencing each other by virtue of all the different experiences that are possible to learn through each other, from which we all communicate with each other what we learn through each other, is learning at a higher rate of speed to become what love is, to be a part of everything that is what love is in living spirit, so we can all experience a universe, if you will, that is on fire, which means we're experiencing love and no harm no matter where we go. And when enough units of beings that exist within a star system, a galaxy, and in a universe that have become what that is, then that means that anything that is alive and aware of what it is that they are that is within that universe and conscious are going to be free to be what it is, to express itself without any fear, because no matter where it goes, it's experiencing what we are, which is what love is. It goes on forever. That's where we're going. Which means war become obsolete. Meaning that the technology becomes obsolete because technology is not being used to wage war against another race ever again. Because you can't have it both ways. You can't be at war and peace with yourself in the same moment. Either you are what love is and that's what you experience, or you're not what love is and you're not experiencing what that is, which is what I am. And those of us that experience the one, which means you have surrendered all of your power because you don't live in any fear of giving it away for free. So when enough units have come together to become what that is, what happens? That's a high-speed accelerator that's coming together with other accelerators. Those are powerful magnets. That's a big-ass mob, which is a big-ass mower. That's the mob right above us. That's us. That was called universal notice. Did you notice? That's actually the best news that anybody could ever experience, is to experience that and then know what that means. That means love is the law, and it's no longer negotiable. You can't be one and not know the other, or be the other and not know one. I am the one, so I know what love is. That's what the law is.